Can you hear me, Don?
Hey, I hear you.
All right. Now, I'm the first one that made it back, I reckon.
Hey, now we can hear each other. We get it. Maybe he got it fixed.
Yeah, it seems like he does.
Let me get this posted up to Facebook to where people can try to find me. Hopefully. Okay, now let's see. We can get a bunch of people back here. Hopefully. Well, you got a question? Now's the time to shoot the question to me.
Yeah, I had a strong hive. I had a real strong couple strong hives. I went ahead and made some splits on them, and my splits are not working out. I reckon one of my other strong hives had robbed them, so I went and put all top feeders on them now to see if that would help stop the robbing because they destroyed a couple of my
Are you using
splits.
entrance reducers?
Yes, yes, sir.
Well,
Yes, sir. I'm using.
they shouldn't be robbing out if you got an entrance reducer in there. Are you getting all your
Yeah, I had
bees
to.
drifting?
Well, I was using the interest feeders to start with, and that's when the robin started going on. So
Well,
I took them off
you
and
got
put.
an open invitation with entrance feeders. If you don't have an
Yeah,
invasion of ants, you're going to have bees coming from the woods everywhere else.
yeah, I learned that the hard way. Yeah,
Well, that's how we learn.
yes, yeah. I didn't get an invitation. I just happened to just go back on my Google site and brought it back up again, and
Yeah.
it popped up on the bottom corner
Well, I just posted a link. Usually David's pretty good on it. Evidently, he fixed something.
there. Yeah, I can hear you good.
Good. Let me see if I can find David. I'll post it to David and see if he finds it. There, I posted to David. Now he should find me, I hope.
How often do you make a split off one hive? I see you talking about on the videos that you make like 4 splits a month off one hive. How do you do that and then the bees to be able to build up before you make another split on them?
Well, on packages, we put packages in. We're basically, making splits about every 2 weeks. And when you put a package in, it's basically 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks, it's ready to sell.
Okay, but you making splits off of a regular hive. You said you make 4 a month off one hive.
At
Is
least.
that correct?
Yeah,
Okay,
at
at
least.
least.
But
And you're
all
taking
those
two
splits
frames of brood.
come with queen cells. You
Oh,
got to
with
have a
queen
queen
cells,
cell.
but you ain't doing no two frames of brood to each split, and two
Nope.
frames of brood and the honey frame in the.
If you're putting brood in there and the temperature drops, those bees are going to cluster. Anything outside that cluster is going to get chill brood, and you're going to lose that.
But in the summer, you're all right. Spring and summer, the late spring and
Well,
summer, you're all right, right?
even summer, if the temperature drops down below 55, the bees are going to cluster somewhat. You're going to lose a percentage of it.
So you don't put brood in your splits.
When I put a frame of honey in there, I shake some bees in there with a queen cell. I don't add no brood from another hive. I'll use some parent
Okay.
hives. Once the queen comes back and she's made it, and I see she's laying and she's not leaving again, she's going to bring back a bunch of bees with her. And then at that time, I'll add a frame or maybe even two of bees that are hatching right then. And I might pull them from two different hives. They don't have to come from the same hive. So wherever you pull them, you add them to them, and then they work fine.
Can you hear
Yeah,
Don?
I'm hearing you now. Yeah, I'm hearing. Evidently, are you hearing me now?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Good. Well, this is what we do now. Ask them questions. You got it fixed, David. Thank you.
Right.
If I had some
You can
honey,
hear me
I'd send
now?
you some honey.
I have to send my own honey to Georgia. I don't know what kind of honey you got there, but I have to send honey to Georgia all the time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I use my honey to make bees. I mean, I give some away to my family and people that come over and that, but I sell very little honey. To me, selling honey, there's no money in this. It's a lot better. I make splits with it.
Right.
So I'm trying to use my honey basically to make a lot of splits.
Hey, while everybody's joining again, probably Monday maybe we should do a team view again and let me sniff around your computer a little more.
Okay.
Try and get. I want to run malware bites again and then make sure Windows is updated for you.
Okay. I think
But you
Windows
have-
automatically updates.
Well, there's 3 updates that it was trying to do before we rebooted, so
Okay.
maybe Monday we'll team view again and then.
When's a good time for you? 7 or 8 o'clock, somewhere in there?
Let's see, 8 o'clock your time would work for me.
Okay. We'll plan on 8 o'clock Monday, and then.
And you don't have to be there. Just send me the password in Facebook, and then
Okay.
I'll take it from there.
All right. Timothy Williams is joining us. I think that's one of my students, if I can see him.
And Lee. So correct.
Yeah, that's Timothy. There he is.
2 frames of root.
Timothy's one of my students from a few years back. Can you hear me, Timothy?
Root to each split.
I don't hear you, Tim.
I need frame in the.
If you're putting brooding there, drops, those bees are going to cluster. Anything outside that cluster is going to get chill brood, and you're going to lose that.
But in the summer.
Somehow we're not getting Timothy. Is everybody still hearing me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
More
Timothy
importantly,
must be,
hear us.
his mic must be muted off.
So you don't put brood in your splits.
When I put a frame of honey in there,
So Don, if you had some hives that were very extremely full with bees, you would just wait for queen cells, then cut them and move some bees with the cells.
if you got somebody that you can get some queens, laying queens, that is always the best thing. But sometimes it's not, the most money smart way to do it. If you can make cells without, and if you're going to be there to watch that you don't get no swarms, I like to do everything myself and have as much control in my bee yard as possible. So controlling your genetics is one thing, and then another thing, a lot of beekeepers, it's the cost to buy a bunch of queens.
Okay.
If you got strong hives, just go through them every 7 to 10 days and watch for queen cells. If you start to see them, the first thing you're going to notice if a hive is really strong is a lot of drones. You can have plastic foundation, you can have whatever you want, brand new foundation, and that's the first indication. They start making drone comb over the top of that cells. That's an indication they're getting ready for a swarm. Because if they don't have drones, they can't make fertilized queens.
And I'm seeing lots of drone comb. So.
Okay. How old is your comb?
I don't know if it's maybe a week, 2 weeks, something like that.
Oh, well, you still got good comb then. As long as you've got good comb in there, you're going to make worker bees. But if you're trying to make a lot of queens, then, take advantage of it. Now, if you're going to try to cut your own cells out, use standard foundation if you don't make your own. And unwire. Don't use wire. If you're using wire, they're going to put the best queen cells over that wire, and you can't get them out. If you're going to put unwired stuff, use the fishing line. That's why I started that with a fishing line. Because you could cut through that with a small steak knife, and you can cut out a lot of cells. Perfectly good.
And so if you find cells, you check them every day until they're capped, and then you cut.
You talking about queen cells now, or are you talking about making
Queen
splits?
cells. Queen cells.
All right, if you find queen cells, once they're capped, and you notice that they're already started to turn a little bit on the dark side, they will get the ends of the queen cell, and they'll start to chew just the end, and it'll be lighter than the whole queen cell. That's an indication. Is usually 24 hours to 48 hours the queen is coming out. If you can time that, then make the split with that, you're going to have good splits. You got your microphone on, Timothy? There's Pat. Hey! You got some questions, head them to me. Timothy, you got your microphone off. I can't hear you.
You can hear us with it on?
I can hear you.
Yay! No, I have no questions tonight. I'm just listening for right now.
You got to have questions. I seen you try to get into chats at least a half a dozen times. You got to ask me something. You got to stump me. Think of something that'll stump me good. Les says he can't hear Tim neither.
Camera keeps going off.
Ah, there's David. He come back. Pat, if you can see Tim, that's one of my students from several years back. I got students all over the place. This is about the only time I get to see them. Well, Gary, you must have a good question for me.
I do. I'm trying to stump you a bit.
Well, I need somebody to stump me and get me on my toes again. We're talking about making splits.
Yep.
What kind of problems do you encounter where you're at? I mean, right now, splitting is the major thing going on right now to make increases. Unless you want to make honey. If you want to make honey, I'll tell you how to make more honey.
Yeah, well, we're wintering down at the moment because we're in New Zealand. So I'm just going to show you something.
Okay.
I'll just share the screen with you. Can you see that? Is that a good configure of wintering down hive?
I don't know. It got my head, got that thing sideways. I can't see it.
Oh, the yellow one's honey, and the orange is honey pollen, and the grey or blue is brood.
What you're trying to show me is a configuration of a hive, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. Personally, I don't go by anybody's configurations. It's just like in my videos. You know, I might not do it right. I'd like to do it my way, and my way seems to work pretty good. Most of the people that's writing a lot of this stuff have one or two hives. I try to use least amount of resources to make the most amount of splits, if that makes sense. But we've talked about making a lot of splits in a lot of different ways. Now, I know some of you must have bees to make honey. So let's talk about honey for a while. I mean, nobody else wants to make honey now. They're all going to make bees.
We've just extracted our honey, and it's been a mission because it's all been manuka honey. It's like treacle, so it's very hard to get out of the comb.
Well,
So
I'll tell you one thing that you might have heard before, but if you want to make more honey, put a hive top feeder on in the summertime, keep it full of water. And now all the bees going in and out of that hive are going to haul nectar. You've got water on top of the hive. They're going to use it for cooling and drinking, so they don't have to waste time to haul more water.
I see that.
yeah, that's a good idea.
I had so they could hear. I could hear them.
I hear now. I hear Timothy.
Yeah, I'm playing with it, trying to learn.
Hey, you're just like me. I've been stumbling through here. We're trying to stump the teacher tonight. Now,
Yeah,
Timothy's a teacher. I stump him. He comes up here and we stump him all the time.
You can't use those. You need an actual
I was
headset.
listening
Drinking.
since
So,
about
they don't
8:15.
have time to haul.
Use a headset because the microphone in the here is one jack.
Okay, hang on a second.
We got to talk one at a time, or we won't hear either one of us.
Microphone in the headset seems to be one jack. It looks like.
All right, Dean, you just joined us. You had a question before, and now I probably can hear you. I hope.
I'm going to bed. I gotta sing tomorrow.
Good luck with that.
Dean, can you hear Don?
No, I didn't. I am trying to get straight.
Oh,
I've got to
Looks
have
like Dean
my earpiece with a mic, so I had to find my other earpiece so I can hear. I just got to get it plugged in now.
yeah.
We're
If
hearing
you
you.
wouldn't mind, you could mute your microphone when you're not. If you don't have a question, that way we don't get your background noise.
And then you could
Gotcha.
short teach them program how it works.
All right, Chris, I guess you're waiting to talk. You gotta ask me something.
Well, I thought the feedback on the hive top feeders is great. I've got a little pond that they're always hauling water to, and they're sucking water off my trash can lids or whatever. But it didn't occur to me to put a hive top feeder full of water on there, so that's great.
Well, the water on top of the hive, actually, in the summertime, it helps to cool the hive, and they don't waste time. All the bees going in and out, they're either going to haul pollen or nectar, so it makes a big difference. And if you're going to make honey, I don't run metal on my lids. Metal on top of a beehive is a heat sink. So if you're going to run metal, put a wood piece of plywood, paint it white to reflect the heat. I don't run inner covers. So, I'll discuss anything and the reasons why. If any of you run inner covers, I don't have to look at your hive. You're going to have ants, roaches, and hive beetles there. So if you put a telescoping lid and run them down on the hive, they'll seal it. It's a little harder to get out, but you eliminate a lot more of your problems.
Yeah, so I get a few roaches, small hive beetles, and the beetle jails have been fairly effective for me. I tried the political signs with the grease and the boric acid. Maybe I'm not doing it right, but I just didn't seem like I was getting a lot of effectiveness out of it.
Okay, the beetle traps, they work, believe me. Now, when people call me and say the beetle traps don't work, you've got the beetle trap or the political sign, it's full of boric acid. Take 10 to 12 of them like a deck of cards and hold them vertically. Take a teaspoon of boric acid and just dribble it into it. If you fill those compartments with boric acid, there's no room for the beetles to get in. That's the only way it'll work. Boric acid was used in the 50s and the 60s around food because it used to be called roach proofing. Come in a brown bottle, 98 to 99% pure boric acid with 1% sugar as an attractant. It's cheap, it's effective. When I put something on a YouTube or I tell you this works and that works, and you tell me something's not working, you're not following directions, or you're not using it properly. Because I try to put as much stuff out that you can do your hive with as cheaply as possible. You know, I preach my videos on YouTube as common sense. There's nothing high-tech about it. You think things out and it reasons out. Green bottom boards causes more problems. You know, I try to tell everybody, walk on the grass first thing in the morning and look at your shoes. They're going to be wet. And if that wetness is on your shoes, when the sun hits it, it goes up in the hive. Now you've got a moisture and a fungal problem. The beekeepers out there now are looking at too many catalogs, listening to too much stuff that is bad information.
Yeah, it's been quite a while since I've looked at your material. I just got this invite kind of out of the blue and decided to sign in out of the blue, but I tell you what, I've been pretty about what you've said so far.
Well, I'm not trying to sell you nothing, and I tell you different ways that you can run your bees. I'm trying to help as many beekeepers as possible, and you know, whether you're successful or not, or whether you believe in it, you got to make that decision yourself. I hope that people watch the videos, learn from them, pass the information on to other ones, because we don't need to keep pumping stuff into the beehives. I mean, the bees will take care of themselves, but the beekeepers are the ones that's causing a lot of problems. Green bottom boards is the worst thing that came out with. The next thing is those stupid queen catchers. And most women used them as a ponytail holder for a long time. Somebody must have been drinking a few beers and said, this is the way to catch queens. When that come out, I sell more queens to people that use them things. You can pick a queen up with your bare fingers. You know, they're not going to sting you.
I'm guilty of using a queen catcher.
You seem like you're surprised.
I was just about to buy one.
All right.
I carry one in my pocket all the time.
You can pick a queen up with your fingers. Learning to pick a queen up gently just takes a little practice. Practice on picking drones up. When I get new students, if they want to learn to mark queens, we try the drones first. Then we pick up worker bees by the thorax and we mark them. And they put 8 or 10 of those in a cage. That teaches you to handle the bees without fear. Once you can pick up a worker, mark it, put it in a cage, then you've got the feel for it, and then you can be marking queens. Now, marking queens is another thing I don't believe in, okay? It's got its purpose. I don't like to do it because bees will think there's something inferior with that queen, and they'll replace it. If you can't see a queen and there's that type of a thing, I will mark them, yellow or white, because I have old people that come up here, beekeepers for years, that just they can't see them. You can open a hive up, and within seconds, you can tell that hive is queenless or got a queen in it. And so there's no purpose other than to live in an area where you've got Africanized bees to mark a queen. And absolutely never cut or clip a queen. It's going to be superseded really quick.
That's great. Last time I attempted to mark queens, I lost or had a lot of queens superseded, and I basically stopped doing that.
Yeah. Well, the things, I made a lot of mistakes. I'm self-taught. So if I can keep you from making one mistake that's going to cost you money, then I've helped you some. I'm not trying to sell you nothing. I mean, they got these queen markers that used to be a push-up thing. You hold it like this, and you push it up. Kids drank it, or ate it. It was a popsicle type deal. Somebody come up using that to mark queens.
So if I've got a lot of old foundation, what's the best strategy for getting rid of that foundation without being too intrusive to my operation this year?
Well, what I would do, no matter what size hive you run, is I would try 2 sheets to 3 sheets a month. Take your outside frames, use those to make a split. Put your new frames or your new foundation to second or third position from each side. Wait a week to 10 days, let them draw it out good. You can go back and do it again. But don't put no more than 2 sheets in at a time. Or the other thing, if you've got a good strong hive, watch my video on checkerboarding. That's a good way to go to a double deep and just take half of them down below, put them up above, every other frame, a new frame of wax.
Right, I've done that fairly successfully, but I guess I haven't been very good about marking my frames about what year they are from. So now, unless, you know, all I know is that the light-colored ones are younger and the dark-colored ones are older and the plastic ones need to go away.
Are you going to mark queens, or are you going to do away with marking queens?
I don't mark queens anymore. I just try to create a whole bunch of splits, and the next year I figure, you know, probably half or more of my queens are from the prior year. Some of them are older. Some of them stopped laying. Could be a different problem, as you've mentioned earlier, and I'm just taking my chances like that.
All right. One way you can do it, when I go to someone's bee yard and I teach them to mark queens, one way I done in my videos, the color that is for that year, let's say green is the year that you're going to mark that queen for that year. What I do is take the marker and I tap it on the frame. I pull that queen out and I mark her for that year. Now, you can use a thumbtack with the proper color for that year. That's going to tell you how old those frames are. That's another way to do it.
Just write on it with a Sharpie, I guess.
Well, that blurs off, and, you know, it's just like people like to write on the bottom of their lid what's going on in the hive. After about 3 or 4 times in there, they don't know what they wrote anymore because it's all blurred and everything else. And if you look at my videos, I use bricks to mark my hives, where I got queens, where I got nukes that's ready to pick up, where I need cells, the whole 9 yards. I use simple methods to do it. But you can almost look at a frame. If it's looking like a chocolate bar, it's ready to start to change. Now, if it's got 50% of drone and you're not raising a lot of queens, take that frame, put it in a 5-frame nuke, let them make a new queen, just like a walk away. Now, once the bees hatch out, you got drones you can use for mating, and then once all the stuff's hatched out, set it out in a bucket. Let them rub it out, melt it down. Put it in blocks or make your own foundation. Having a new foundation in there is half the battle. And I hope you go and use small cell foundation. Small cell, whether people like it or not, you can get up there with anybody from these colleges that are they're preaching this, preaching that for control. They tell you to put drone comb in there for control of your mites, because the mites prefer the large cell. So if you put small cell in there, that's one step in the right direction. Now they don't want to reproduce in a smaller cell.
How do you change your
thing, you don't feed them a wintergreen. They're not going to reproduce.
Don, how do you change your hives from 5.9 or whatever it is to 4.9?
Well, the best thing to do is do a frame at a time and slowly work out your oldest frames. And, you know, you could probably do it in about 1.5 to 2 months. Or if there's a good honey flow on, what I do is I'll put an empty frame in the middle of the hive. And if I use say a medium frame in a deep box, I don't even put foundation in it. Is everybody following that? No foundation, empty frame. I'm going to go back in about a week to 10 days, and I'm going to pull that frame out. If that frame, from the top bar to the bottom bar, has got all worker cells in it, that's a good queen. If they start making a lot of drone comb, that hive has either got a failing queen or they're getting ready to swarm. And from the bottom bar down to the bottom board. There's nothing there. If they draw all drone comb, that hive is leaving usually within 3 weeks. Now, that's how I determine it. Now, if you stop and think about a tree, when the bees go into a tree, you've cut trees down, they got all nice, good worker comb there. They didn't have foundation there, so it's my way to test the hive to see if your queen is failing. Does that help you out?
Yeah, that answered my question.
Pat, I know you've got to ask me a question. You're just sitting on the edge of your seat there. You're going to ask me one. If you don't ask a question, you don't have an answer. And there's no bad questions or dumb questions, because if you don't ask it, you're not going to know it. And there's no need to keep making mistakes. Unless you don't make mistakes out there.
Okay, no, I make mistakes.
I want to show pictures. I can stick them on a USB and stick a USB in.
I got mine is micro SDs.
That?
Well, my phone and this.
Yeah, but see, I want to be able, if I have a USB in my tablet.
Let's see. Let's.
Don, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, Tim.
Oh, okay. I finally figured it out, I guess. So, had a question. Varroa mites. I got a hive that's they just showed up. I was gonna use the acid and vaporize it. That's gonna be a good kill for them, but they're in the cells.
Well, it's only going to kill the Varroa that is on the bees. Anything that's inside the cell, it's not going to affect it. You're going to have to come back and treat it about every 3rd week for at least 3 treatments. That breaks the cycle.
Okay,
now, what you can do is feed a heavy solution of wintergreen and some tea tree oil. When they feed that solution to the bees, the mites are very less likely to reproduce. They don't like that stuff in the cells, and they feed that solution to the baby larva.
Okay. Yeah. I was wondering on the cycle is what I was not sure about. So
you have to break that cycle, and that's every 21 days.
Gotcha. Okay.
Once you break it, it's easy to maintain it. But if you only treat once a month, you're not going to completely break that cycle unless you go every 3 weeks until you get rid of all them mites.
Okay. I'll start using the wintergreen and everything.
Now, you got a regular vaporizer that you plug up to a battery?
Yeah.
Or are you dribbling?
Yeah. No. I've got the one you had me doing down there with your vaporizer, with the battery.
Yeah. Now the vaporizer that's 100% kill with the mites. I do not like to dribble that method because that will kill open brood. It also could damage your honey. I wouldn't want to do it with honey on the hive or open brood. I like the vaporizer because you can do it anytime the bees are flying. In wintertime, if you got 50 degrees, 48 degrees, and you got a good bunch of bees flying, you can vaporize. But you don't want to vaporize when it's down below, say, 50 degrees. You don't want to break up a cluster in the wintertime.
Okay. All right. That answered my question.
Okay.
Nice seeing you again, Don.
It's nice seeing you. Come and visit me. I got some extra packages sitting out there if you need them.
I've got tons of them. I mean, not the package. I just got tons of bees right now.
Well, you must have learned something.
Yeah, I did. I truly did.
And I try to spread the word.
So I'm looking right now for a best source of treatment here. So oxalic acid, you're saying that's available now in the States? You know if it's available in Alabama by any chance?
Oh yeah, one of my students brought a article over here. Let me see. This is the one right here. I'm going to hold it up and see if you can see it. This was downloaded off of one of the bee magazines. This is where the government has approved it for United States, oxalic acid as a form to treat mites. Now, it's been used in the UK for a long time. No problems, you know, and they don't have a mite problem like we got over here. And your drug companies are the ones that was fighting it because there's no money in it. You can treat a hive for pennies rather than throwing those strips in there and spending a lot of money contaminating wax. But I still sell the vaporizers. You know, if you want them, I can sell them. I always send acid with them so you have enough to work with. If you've got very many hives, it's the only 100% way to treat you for your mites. If you treat them with oxalic acid and the vaporizer and you lose bees, 99% of the time they've starved.
All right, well, I'll plan to do that.
All right, anybody else got any questions?
Well, the oxalic acid you use is wood bleach. Is that correct?
Yeah. I buy mine off of Amazon and buy the best quality you can get. And you can buy on Amazon. The last that I bought was a 2-pound bag for about $10.50. 2-pound bag will treat probably 500 hives minimum. $10.50. I used to buy it from the chemistry store. But the chemistry store, if they send it to you by the United Parcel Service, they charge a hazmat fee, which is $25. Amazon don't charge a hazmat fee, and for $10.50, you know, it's a lot cheaper. If you've got lots of hives, you can buy it in a bigger bag. Any more questions?
So I guess I'm trying to think of my strategy for this year. I've got 6 double deeps that are doing pretty well, and 3 single deeps that are weak. One looks like it's coming up. The other 2 are not in very good shape. And the goal this year is to produce a certain amount of hives. I'm thinking maybe 5 hives for honey production, and use the rest just to create as many splits as I can to get my hive count as large as I can, you know, before overwintering comes. I guess the question is, I'm just trying to figure out how to balance honey production with splits and how aggressively to do this. And you talked about doing single frame splits, and I've never really been successful. I mean, even my 2 frame splits have been pretty marginal to date. I could have problems with foundations, and mites is my issue.
Well,
or maybe not. I don't know.
One reason people are not real successful at doing splits, they think they got to make their hives look all pristine. Making all your hives look nice and white, it looks good on paper. But if you look at my hives, they're very multicolored. The bees find the hive by the color. Then when they get close enough, then they go by smell. It's just like when you find me, you look at my address. Then you can come in the yard, you know where I'm at. So if you got all your hives white and you sit out there and watch them on a windy day, those bees are going to drift back and forth, and they're waiting their chance to fly in a hive. And if they miss the hive and get in the one next to it or 2 doors down, now you start fighting. And once the fighting starts, it knocks population down pretty quick. It's a simple thing. You change the colors of the box. If nothing else, put a piece of poster paper on. Different colors. Just use thumbtacks. That's another way you can do it. And another thing is I run all my hives at least knee-high with the bottom board off the ground. That helps eliminate the moisture problems. You get good airflow around there.
I don't know. Did you figure it out?
Yeah.
Good for you. I'm glad you got it figured out. Took you long enough.
Can you tell us how to multiply bees with the least amount of resources?
Yes, the best way to do it is do it with honey frames. I mean, if you're wanting to make honey, it stands to reason. One hive makes a certain amount. But if you took that hive and made 20 splits off it, now you got 20
Well, I'm
times
gonna get
the
off.
resources.
So how much did this cost you?
Does that give you a good answer to it? If you run a one frame split with a frame of honey, if the queen comes back with a queen cell and she's made it and she starts to lay, then go to your strong hive, pull 1 to 2 frames of brood that's hatching in front of your eyes. Put it in that 5-frame nuke, put 2 sheets of new foundation on each side of the box, and then they'll explode, believe me. Because when that queen goes out, she's going to bring back many, many more bees than when she first went out. That's the whole purpose of doing mini nukes. You put a queen cell in there and actually 1 cup of bees. You limit your resources that you lose. If you go to a 10-frame hive and split it, make 2 splits or 3 splits off of it, if that queen decides not to come back or gets killed in the air and those bees don't come back, you can lose between 1 and 5 pounds of bees. That versus a cup of bees.
Very interesting. That helps.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been doing is converting, a double deep into 2 deeps or a single deep into maybe 2. I have not been doing these small splits.
If you can get a hold of, I got students that come here and practice exactly what I'm telling you. I have a student that bought 4 packages and 2 nukes last November. He went to 60 hives the first part of the year. Numbers is not a problem. If you just apply half of the methods that I talk about and practice them faithfully, you will not build equipment fast enough to put bees in. Because bees are going to do 2 things. They multiply and store honey. Keep them crowded, they make queen cells. That eliminates spending time grafting.
I'm very excited about trying that.
The methods to make queens vary. It's just like my treatments. I got a lot of treatments for everybody to suit what they want. I was back there grafting one day. I had some young guys in there, and they could see pretty good, and we was grafting. Well, these 2 old codgers come in and said, that's fine, we can't see. So it ain't going to do us any good. That's the day I put that video up. I'm take a frame of brood, lay it sideways, and take a utility knife and cut a strip. Take that strip and just press it every inch on a bar and put it in a hive. They come back and they thanked me. They said they had 15 queens and they never even had a try.
I watched that
teach you
video.
to make queens, if you just listen.
Do you take that frame where you just smashed your thumbprint in there and put it back in a large hive or in a small nuke to generate those queen cells?
Put it in a nuke box and shake about 2 or 3 frames of bees in it and put a 3/4 or a 1-inch hole in the front and put a screen over it. Number 8 hardware cloth. Leave it for 24 hours. Bees, they got no choice. They look at it and say, uh-oh, we got to have a queen. So anything that you can do it. The last video I done, I run out of memory. And I was doing different ways to make queens. And if you don't even want to press it down, cut you a 2-inch piece off your frame. And let's lay it with cells up and down. And don't even worry about it. Just put the lid on top of it and mash it down. Spread your frames out 2 inches. And all the cells that's pointing down, they're going to make you a group of cells, queen cells. That's a no-brainer. I mean, if you get 5 queens out of that and separate them out, you're 5 queens ahead. And, when we're talking about queens, the gender system and the Nicot system, you're going to get in your pocket and you're going to spend money. And people are not telling you. I got both systems here to show students. You have to physically catch the queen, put her in that cage. There's only 100 cells there. When she lays those up, she has to stop. Now, that queen is just like a woman. She's got an ovaries. You get that ovary, stop, start, stop, start. You could have a good laying queen, and you do that several times. Now you're going to have a queen that's going to be faulty. It's common sense stuff I try to preach out there. Nothing high tech.
Very helpful, Don. I appreciate it. I saw the last one where you just put a strip of foundation or brood upside down and mashed it in. That's one I want to try because I can't see well. But I wasn't aware how to do it. I didn't know if you shake bees in or if you put it on top of a strong hive.
The best thing to do if you're going to graft when I try to show people how to graft, if you got enough bees, you're going to get good cells. If you don't have enough bees in there to keep the cells warm, you're going to get inferior queens. So if you look at a 5-frame nuke, and then I know all of you must have bought packages. We have packages coming in all the time. I'll take a 3-pound package. I'll take the queen out of it, and I'll put 3 or 4 packages. When I put the 3rd package in that 5-frame nuke, I shake the balance in front. And everybody says the bees won't even fit in there. When you get it to that point, no matter how bad a grafter you are, you put them cells in there, you're going to get darn near 100%. You've got to pack that hive to make good cells. That's the whole key to making good queens. They have to feed them queens good. Now, I hope that helps you as far as making queens. I mean, you can see the videos. There's a lot of stuff out there. You can buy anything you want, but the simplest ways is the best, I think.
So to make queen cells, you need lots of bees. But once you already have a queen cell, it only takes a cupful of bees or so to keep that one going.
Once the cell is completely sealed, you don't need no brood, you don't need no pollen, you don't need much of anything. It's already done. Everything that's done to it is done. You just need enough bees to cluster around it in case the temperature drops. They have to maintain about 90 degrees to 92 degrees in that hive. If they maintain that, that queen will hatch. Once the queen hatches and comes back, then add more bees or add frames of bees that are hatching. That's how to build numbers fast.
Okay, that helps. I learned a lot tonight.
Well, I'm glad everybody was patient, and we've had problems, and we hope to get them all straightened out eventually. And it's all thanks to David. If it wasn't for David, we would not be able to hear each other.
Glad to help, Don.
Much appreciated, Dave.
Don.
Yes.
Okay, I got the plastic foundation there. That's what I started that with. How do I get the queen cells off that plastic foundation, or just put the cream in the nuke?
If you got a good way to get it off, you let me know.
Okay.
First of all, I'm not a big person on plastic. Running plastic with wax is tough. You've got outgassing problems with plastic. The second thing is, even if you got a good saber saw, you take a jigsaw out there, you can't get them out because the vibration is going to damage the cell. If nothing else, put an empty frame between 2 frames and let them draw natural stuff. Then cut the cells. Or find somebody that thinks plastic is great and sell it to them.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm planning to do. I bought myself a whole lot of wax foundation there from Man Lake there, 4.9, so I got about 200 sheets. So I'm moving them on.
Well, now, the foundation that you bought from Man Lake, that is not as thick as the stuff I made. So you can either cut it in thirds and use it that way. It's going to be a little better because the bees will have something to hang on and build it. Or if you use a full sheet, look at the video how I wire them up with fishing line. And the fishing line, you can get in here with a little steak knife and you cut cells out all day long and they don't get damaged.
Have you used the pins on the ends through the sideboards? You know,
Rubber
side of the
bands?
frame? No, using the plastic pins through the holes in the.
No, I put the fishing line through those holes. If that's what you're talking about.
You know, I've been installing it there when I'm building the frames. There, I've got the holes on the end of the the end bars, and just put these pins through the wax.
Well, if you're talking about the pins that the bee supply houses sell, the best thing that I found is go down to the beauty supply, buy some bobby pins. They will reach in farther, and they're a whole lot cheaper. And if you don't drive them all the way in flush, you can take your hive tool and you can pop them out once the frames get drawn out.
Okay.
And you know, those pins that the bee supply house sells, if you're using wired foundation, look at them, and those pins won't even touch that wire. And if you bump the frame, they go in about 3/4 of an inch. To me, it's a total waste of time and money. They run about a nickel a piece, and for probably $5, you could buy a pound of bobby pins at a beauty supply house. If your wife goes to the beauty shop, there's still people that use bobby pins. And at the beauty shop, a lot of them pull them out and they throw them away. You can get hands full of them for nothing.
Well, I got about 500 or 1,000 I got to use. My camera keeps
if
drifting.
nobody else has got any questions, I'm going to head out, and we'll try to get this set up every Saturday at 8 o'clock. And hopefully we won't have no more problems then.
Don, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It helped me a lot tonight.
All right. If I can help you, it makes me feel good.
Yes,
Thanks, Don.
Nice job. Maybe I'll see you in one of your classes. I'm not that far away.
Okay. Well, Timothy come up here. He's down there in South Carolina. I have people from all over. Last year on the videos, I had a lady come up here from Australia, and I try to discourage that. I had a man from Japan early in the spring. I get them from all over, and I try to discourage it because I can't put a funnel in your ear and pour information in it. I mean, most people, if you're a well-equipped beekeeper and you hang around with me an hour, the information doesn't come out like a garden hose. It's like a fire hose, and there's so much it scrambles your thing. You get confused. So you have to learn it in pieces and bits here and there.
That is exactly true. Some of the videos almost go over your head if you're a newbie.
Yeah.
That's why you watch them over and over and over.
Or you just go out and do it like I do and just gut it out year after year and do your best. And the truth of the matter is,
Well, I hope I'm helping each one of you along, and then, you know, pass it on. All right, I want to head out of here, and everybody have a good night, and thanks for being patient.
Thank you, Don.
thanks. Have a good night, everyone.
Night,
Thank you,
Don.
Don.